Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel as we continue this Christmas in July color along in Hannah Lynn's A Whimsy Girls Christmas coloring book. We are working on this page, the Cocoa Fairy, and this page was voted on in my Facebook group and got the majority of the votes, along with another page by Mariola Budek that was a cute little reindeer. And some people are doing both. I'm just working on just the Cocoa Fairy right now. I don't know if I'll get to the reindeer or not, but this is a continuation of my previous video on my channel if you'd like to see how I colored the dress and the rest of the page so far. You can go find those videos. I'll have links in the description. Today we are working on the hair, and so I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a hair tutorial. I don't know how this is actually going to come out in the end, but I kind of had the idea where I wanted her hair to be kind of Christmassy, since she's kind of like a Christmas fairy. And so I wanted her hair to be kind of pink with a little bit of red and some highlights in there. So it's kind of hard to determine really exactly where you want to go with this because we have such a limited color palette. And I had browns and such in my color palette and wanted to originally make her hair brown with like some blonde highlights using my sand color for the highlights with the browns, but the browns I had in my color palette really weren't sufficient, so I'm going to go with pink hair. And so if you can see, I've kind of already started it, trying to mix some colors and see where I wanted to go with it, and I figured if I didn't like it, then I could always erase it. And I've done two sections of her hair, and I'm going to show you how I did that, and I'm going to show you the colors that I'm using for her hair. I am using my pink, which is PC929. They're all Prismacolors, of course. And my Crimson Lake PC925. My peach PC939. And then my PC940, which is sand. So those are the four colors I've been working with. And I kind of started without the sand. And I had added the peach originally when I did this one right here, and I really was not sure how I liked the peach, but when I first swatched them I wasn't sure how I liked the sand. So I'm just going to kind of go with it and see what I used in what section, and then I went over them and added some highlights in the center with my white. I generally use the white for burnishing, and it's kind of really needed on this paper because, I don't know, you really can't on this Amazon paper apply that many layers. Some of you I know printed your pages out, so you're using better paper and you may have more layers, but I'm coloring right in the book. So I am going to try to make the best of this, and we're going to start the next section. And I like to kind of just come in where I want to add my highlights and add my highlight to the section that is going to be highlighted, and I'm using the sand for that. Then I'm going to come in with my next color, which is the pink, and I am going to kind of pull that in here on the outside. It's always a little more difficult to tell with hair because until you get more sections down on the paper and it all comes together, it's kind of really hard to tell how it's going to look in the end. I kind of wanted her to kind of look a little bit like a candy cane because I thought it would be really cute. So I'm kind of experimenting. So I'm going to come in now with my Crimson Lake, and I'm going to do the outer edges where it would generally be darker, you know, kind of like at the roots of your hair where it's naturally darker. And when you're doing this, you kind of just have to think about what is going to look best when you're looking at it yourself? Like, what is going to be most satisfying to your eye, but also think about natural hair. And if you were to look in the mirror and you were to look at your own hair, where are you seeing the highlights in your hair? If you were standing out in the sun, where is the sun reflecting on your hair? Where are you seeing most of the highlights in your own natural hair? And so when you're working hair, you kind of just need to think about those things and then apply the colors where you think they would just kind of naturally go. And see, after I have played with them a couple times, these were just kind of experiments. And sometimes you'll notice that after you get to another section and you kind of know what idea it is you're going for and what look you want, it may look better than another section, but don't worry, nobody else is going to be able to tell. And you could always go back and make the other sections look exactly how you want them to look. But I'm using kind of these just very light pull strokes, especially when I come in here with my Crimson Lake, because I don't want to lay down too much pigment with this really dark color. I really just want this dark color kind of in the corners, on the ends where her roots would be. And then I'm going to pull that out with the pink a little bit. And I'm wondering if I should have just kind of left the white out of it and kept it like that. Wow, yeah, I might even like that better. But let's see, let me just burnish this out a little bit. See, just like I said, as you go, you'll find that the other sections look better. And I like that section more. So what I'm going to do, I kind of like that yellowish highlight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can get a little more of this up here down on the paper over that white. And see how lucky I am with that. Oh, it's working. See, this paper is not so bad. You won't be able to apply as many layers as you would if you had printed this paper out on paper that had more tooth, but you could still do some really great looking work if you know how to use your pencils and how to lay the colors down. You can really create some beautiful pages even on this Amazon paper. You just have to really practice with your pencils and know what they can do. But I kind of like that. Okay, so let's come in for another section. And like I did before, I'm just going to lay this sand right in the center. And I think I'm going to come over here and do this bigger section. I really want like a lot of highlights in here, in these bigger sections, and where it's kind of coming around right here, like right across the top of her face. I'm just kind of imagining what I want it to look like when it's done. But let me go ahead and add some of this sand in here while I'm thinking about how I want it to look in the end. But I love this color. This is a really great highlight color. Okay, so we've got a lot of that sand laid down, and then we're going to come back with our light pink. And we're going to kind of lay this around on the ends and pull that into the sand. See, I'm pulling it in even more right here in this section. And more towards the top. I have not had a lot of time in the last few days to really work on this. So it's kind of coming along really slow. And I know if a lot of you in my Facebook group had ordered the book. And we're waiting for it. And some of you said that you hadn't gotten the book yet. And even some of you had already finished the page. So we're all going at our own pace and just doing what works for us. There's no rush to get it done. If you ordered your book, just take your time. You have plenty of time to wait for the book to come and start your page. And of course, these videos are always going to be there. So you could always go back and watch some of the color alongs and the tutorials that I have on my channel if you are a beginner and you need some guidance, or just if you want to watch them to get other ideas. Notice how I'm coming in with this Crimson Lake, and I'm going to go here closer to these lines with this kind of pull-in stroke. I'm just kind of trying to pull the colors in together. Without laying down too much pigment. But I kind of want the contrast there. So I want to make sure that I've got my darkest color kind of standing behind in the different sections. You know, up against, like here, I've got a lot of the, like right here, I've got a lot of the sand. So I'm trying to pull the darker color in here so that right here where I have more sand will really stand out. But when you're coloring and you're laying down your colors, make sure that you always have contrasting colors right up against one another, because that's what creates the effect where it makes it really pop from the page and gives it more dimension. But as you can see, I'm just going really slow. Now, if you take this pink and you go over that Crimson Lake, know that it's gonna lighten up your Crimson Lake just a bit, because when you put the lighter colors over the darker colors, that's just naturally what's going to happen. But you can come back in there and you could darken that back up. But you don't necessarily have to use this same stroke that I'm using, but this is really just what works best for me, because I tend to have a heavy hand. And so I have to be really careful. I've really had to train myself to not be so heavy with my strokes when I'm coloring. And I think that is generally something we pick up from very early in life. And it just follows us through, and then it's something we kind of have to retrain ourselves to do or to not do. Okay, so I have a lot of that laid down. I'm going to come back in here with my sand, and I'm going to kind of blend out right here where I want more of that highlight. And see, I still see a lot of the white of the paper. So I'm going to definitely be going over this with my white just to burnish it, to get rid of that white. Okay, so here I come with the white. And I'm going really light with this white because I kind of like where I've got the highlights with the sand much better than where I tried using white over here and had to go back over it. So I'm just really using this to pull the colors together. If you want to use your Prismacolor blender, you can use that as well, your Prismacolor Colorist blender, and that will work just as well. But sometimes for me, I find that mine sort of distorts the color, and I don't know if that's just me or possibly my blender, but I prefer using the white pencil. And you can achieve the same effect without laying too much white down. But yeah, I really like how this looks. And see, as I go, I'm kind of getting an idea of exactly how I want it to look. And I know what I want to achieve. And so if you need to, if you still have layers of the paper left, you can always go back to the other areas once you know exactly how you want it to look, and you can fix it. Not necessarily fix it, but change it. And see how I'm just adding much more of the darker color by where her roots would naturally be. And you can do the same thing. And if you lay something down that you don't like, know that you can always go back and you can erase. I have never done a hair color like this ever. But it's interesting. And I think it'll look good when it's done. I wanted a lot more of the sand in there. I like how this looks. And I'm thinking if I just lay more down, I can get rid of the white in this paper. And see, in the beginning, I thought that the sand was going to look really terrible. And so that's why I pulled my peach out, because when I swatched it, the peach actually looked better laid down on the other paper. But then once I started working and actually laying it down on the coloring page, this effect looked much better to me. I just really love pinks with yellows, and I don't know, I think that her hair is really going to be like, pow, here I am. But that's what I wanted, so it's achieving what I wanted to do. Now, let me go ahead and add some sand up in here in this corner. And then come back in with my pink. Now, as you can see, I'm achieving this look with just 3 colors in the white. So to create a look that you want when you're doing hair, I know I watched some of these tutorials on YouTube and they're using so many different colors in the hair. And yeah, if you're more advanced, you can do that and you can make it look really fantastic. I watched some of these artists and some of these artists, what they could do with these pencils and how they create the hair in their portraits is just absolutely amazing. But if you're a beginner or you're just doing a coloring page or you're using like a very limited palette, you probably will not be able to do that until you've gotten a lot more practice. And that's okay. And as many years as I've been coloring, hair is generally one of my favorite things because there's always something new that you can come up with when you're putting these colors together. But I've experimented with so many different colors. I've made teal hair, which is one of my favorites. I love making something that looks kind of like mermaid hair. I've done hair with teals and purples mixed together. And maybe I'll have to do one like that. One of the books that is really good to color hair is not just Hannah Lynn. She's got a lot of closer up portraits with a lot of hair on them, making them really good to practice hair on. But another one is Deborah Muller, and she's got this one book. I mentioned it in my last one, in my video where I talked about which paper suited me the best and gave you my opinion on each one of the different papers so that you could choose which paper you think would be best when you want to print out your coloring pages. But I had printed out a page by Deborah Muller, which I really thought was beautiful. And it had so much hair to color on there. So maybe I'll do a hair tutorial on my channel showing you how I color that hair on that page. And I think that's gonna look really amazing because I think the one that I'm gonna finish is the is on the toned paper. And I really can't wait to try that because that is going to look so cool, the way it's gonna pop off the toned paper. I don't know, what do y'all think? Does this hair look Christmassy enough? I'm just going back in and I'm adding more of the darkest red, which is the Crimson Lake. Is that what it was? Yeah, it's the Crimson Lake. And then I'm gonna pull it out with a little bit of this pink. And I think I'm going to go over some of this with white to try to blend some of this in. Because I still see a lot of the white in the paper. But I think I like how this is coming along. Okay, so let's come in here with some of the pink. Now I'm trying to decide what I want this to look like. Yes, I know all this is going to be pink. And I think this right here, I'm going to leave darker instead of highlighting it. And I'm going to go over that with my red, my Crimson Lake. I'm just trying to imagine what, you know, where these colors would be laying naturally on someone's hair. So I'm just gonna keep on going with this lighter pink, and I'm trying not to lay too much of it down because I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do here for this much broader section that we have. I'm still seeing a lot of white over here. I think I'm gonna come back over with the Crimson Lake to get right in here, because when I come back and do these sections down here, her hair kind of, I don't know, it's not braided, but it kind of has that same type of look where your hair is kind of curled a little bit. So like, maybe I'll come over here and show you what my idea is for this section. And I am going to come in here and just do the sand right in the center all the way down. And this is how I want it to look, going all the way down. Just because her hair has that look where it's just kind of curled through. So let's come in with the pink. And again, we're going to do the outside. And I'm not going to do too much of this in these sections. Probably just a little bit more here, where I'm closer to her face. Because in the sections where you're closer to where the hair meets the face, it will be darker. Okay, so I think I laid enough of that down. Let me come in and do it on this side now. And then see here how we have her arm, but her arm is kind of laying behind. So I am going to make sure that I do these sections right here a little bit darker as well. And more pink on that part. Okay, so I'm going to come in with my darkest of colors. Let me finish this here. Yeah, here I think I want to add a little bit of more of this. And then I'm going to come in here and make this darker. And then let me pull that out with the pink. But right here, I kind of want this, I kind of want her to have a highlight right here that really stands out, because I'm going to make what's underneath it darker. I hope when I kind of just talk through this, what I'm doing, and just, you know, explain like what I'm doing on camera as I'm showing you, I'm hoping that helps, because what I'm doing is just kind of talking about what I'm thinking in my head and what I eventually want it to look like, and why I do the things that I do when I'm coloring, when I'm coming up with these ideas. I'm wondering if you guys can see good. So I'm hoping that that helps. I need to pull this out with the lighter color, the pink. I don't want to lay too much down right here because I wanted a lot of that sand in the center. Let me see if I could turn it a little bit so y'all could see what I'm doing. Okay, let's pull this out. I think I want her to have another highlight here that really stands out a lot more on this strand of hair. And I think it's coming together nicely. I'm gonna darken this up right here where it's really close to her eye. And then right here where I would imagine it would be darker. But yeah, these like very light feather strokes really just work well for me. I'm kind of trying to line some of where her hair is laying to give it a little bit of dimension. But I do want a good amount of highlight right in here. See how that pink is kind of pulling down that crimson lake and giving it more dimension? And it did it there again. I really love that effect. These pencils, or really any pencils, will do so much if you just really sit and practice and learn how to use them. And I've seen so many artists that can make things look so realistic, or things that are just popping off the page right at you. It's crazy what some of them can do with these. So if you want to see me continue doing this hair on camera, I'm going to set this part to music and put it on as a speed coloring so that you could follow through and see what it looks like in the end. And we are going to go ahead and do that now. So enjoy it. Maybe grab some coffee or some tea, and you can sit and color as you watch this hair just come to life.